Hello, hello, hello. Is anybody home? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to MK's Corner. I hope you all had a splendid week. I had a fantastic one. I don't even remember what happened. I did go to a hotel in Harrison for the night for my grandpa's birthday, and if you know me, you know that I am very much into paranormal. I have mentioned that a couple times last podcast. And we were at the Harrison Hotel. What's it called? The Harrison Hot Springs Resort. And the hotel is over 100 years old, I'm pretty sure. Maybe around exactly 100 years old. It used to be called the St. Alice Hotel. It was named after like the governor's daughter or something like that, and then it burnt down and they rebuilt it. But there is an old side and a new side of the hotel, and we were staying in the old side. We were in room 331, and let me tell you, the second I walked in that room, I just knew something was off, and those rooms are laid out really weird. We had a step-up bathroom, and then you walked into a bedroom that had, I think it was like a double bed, it wasn't even a queen. And then you would walk through a doorway, and then there was another hallway with another door into the hallway of the hotel, and then there was like a hallway in your hotel room, and then there was the step-up bathroom, and then a room with 2 twin beds. And in the corner of the room with the 2 twin beds, there was a closet door. And in our first room, room 331, when I saw that closet door, the first thing that I saw or pictured in my brain, I didn't even control it, because why would I want to imagine something like this in the first place, was a man hanging himself in that closet. And it just literally made me feel so icky and depressed and like creeped out in that room. Thankfully, I mean, not thankfully, but also thankfully, our pipes froze in that room, so we had to switch rooms. As soon as we switched rooms and went into our next room, I felt fine. I felt totally fine. And my mom knows that I'm kind of into that stuff, and so I was kind of telling her, I was like, this room is really creeping me out, because I have experienced things where I have seen the Shadow Man. And I might go into that another day, but it creeps me out when I talk about it, and then I get bad dreams when I talk about it, so I just don't want to dive into it right now. But I told her, I was like, the same way that I felt when I saw the Shadow Man is the same way that I feel in this room when I look at that closet. And she also was like, you know what, as soon as we came into our new room, I also felt 10 times better. And so I'm not the only one that felt weird in the other room, but they just didn't obviously put 2 and 2 together, and like, you know, old hotel, weird, creepy feeling, like, you know, so that was fun. It was very cold and creaky. You can hear through the walls. They're paper thin, but all in all, it was a good trip. I finished the last Hunger Games book, or is it the first one now? Is that what it would be? Is it, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Is that what it's called? I think that's the new one. It is so good. I have a really hard time getting into fictional books. I really like self-help books, and I like books on stoicism and like Buddhism and all that kind of stuff, because I like learning when I'm reading. I like to be able to feel like I'm obtaining some sort of knowledge or information or something. And so I have a hard time getting into fictional books. However, I have been reading The Hunger Games, or I started reading The Hunger Games when I was 12, 13, and became absolutely obsessed. So obsessed. I loved The Hunger Games. I remember at first my mom didn't let me read them or watch them, and then I watched the first one and read the book without telling her. And then I told her after I was done, and I was like, it's not even bad. I don't know what you were worried about. So then I read the second one, and then after I was done reading the second one, she left it on such a cliffhanger that I was freaking out to my mom, and she ended up going and getting Mockingjay for me as a report card present, and I finished it in one day, and that would have been when I was in grade 8, 9 maybe, and since that series, I haven't really read anything fictional like that at all. And so for Christmas, I got The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because obviously I have to read that one. I haven't seen the movie yet either, so I was going to say don't spoil it, but I just read the book, so I know more than what happens in the movie probably. But I thought at the end, this is a spoiler alert if you haven't read nor watched it and you are planning on it. I thought at the end, because I haven't read the other ones and I haven't watched the other ones in a really long time, so I forgot all of the kind of backstory characters' names. So I thought that all of a sudden when Lucy Gray pulled the Katniss out of the ground, when they mentioned the Katniss for the first time, I was like, hold on. I was like, is Lucy Gray Katniss's mom, and President Snow is trying to kill Katniss and Primrose because Lucy Gray's mom chose Billy, is that his name, Billy something, instead of President Snow? So that was my theory for a good 2 chapters, and then all of a sudden everyone dies, and then President Snow is trying to kill Lucy Gray, and then all of a sudden President Snow's back in the Capitol. And it's just like he's a game maker now. And so it was such a big build-up. And then I was like, oh, I know how it's all connecting. And then everyone died, and it just went off on a completely different route than I thought it was going to. And it really surprised me. But also, I guess, makes sense in a way. However, I think it would have been more interesting if she would have done it where all of the characters were intertwined and Lucy Gray is actually Katniss and Primrose's mom, and the reason that President Snow is trying to kill Katniss and Primrose is because Lucy Gray decided to go run off with, what is his name? I can't remember his name. I'm just gonna call him Billy because I think it was Billy something. And so I thought then he was trying to kill them because then they ran away with Billy, and then Billy got killed in the mine, and then Lucy Gray went silent. But then I kind of realized that it's not the same last name as Everdeen, and it just didn't really tie in. So that's that. What else did I do this week? Oh, I remembered this week that libraries existed. So I got a library card. I would say my first library card, but I don't think it was my first. I've definitely had one when I was in elementary school, probably maybe middle school. But I went and I got a library card, and I got 2 fiction books. 2. This is a big deal, you guys. The first one, I'm already 55 pages in, and I got it last night. It's so good. It's so good. I don't know why I never tried to enjoy other books before. Maybe it's just because my meds are working way better now, so I actually can just sit down and enjoy the books that I'm reading. But I think it's called The Betrayal. I don't have it in my room with me, and I just got it. I haven't ever heard of it before. But I think it's called The Betrayal. And from my understanding, it's kind of like a mix between Harry Potter and The Hunger Games. So far, from what I understand. It's one of the books where they kind of just throw you into the plot with all the characters, and it's almost like you're jumping into their lives halfway through, so you kind of have to read a little bit to be able to catch on to what's actually happening. But so far it's really good, and the way that it's written is beautiful. English in school was my favorite class. I loved English. Poetry was my favorite unit, and I know that when I was in class, I always would pretend that I didn't care about anything because people who liked poetry and English were nerds, which is not true. Poetry is art. Poetry is beautiful. And so this book is so beautifully written that I might just have to get my own copy so that I can, what's that called? See, I haven't even done it yet. I was gonna do it with this, like, the Letters from a Stoic book that I'm also reading, where you annotate it? I think that's what it's called. And I really want to do it with this book because there are some phrases that the words that she uses, I'm like, girl, you are a mastermind. It's just so easy to read, but so descriptive, and I love it. I'll keep you updated with how it goes, but the other one that I got is like a murder mystery kind of thing, so we'll see. I've had these weird hiccups stuck in my chest/throat like for the last 2 days, and so when I'm talking, I feel like you can hear it and it's kind of gurgly, so excuse that if you hear that. Something else that I have been getting into this week, or have been getting into the past couple months, is baking. I love to bake. I hate cooking. I hate making dinner. I hate making lunch. I hate making breakfast. I hate cooking because there's so many things that you're doing at the same time. You got like 3 things on the stove. You got 1 thing on the toaster. You got 1 thing in the oven. You gotta strain this while this is boiling, and then this is burning in there, and then like there's just too many things going on. If I'm baking, I just need to read the instructions, and it's just 1 thing that I'm making and putting in the oven. So my kick lately has been pie. Pie is my favorite. Every year I go to my family's cabin in Shuswap, and there's a farmer's market, and there's this granny's homemade pie, and every year I would get the huckleberry pie. Usually the pie is $10, which for a whole pie, $10, I mean, it's not awful because the pie was delicious and it was so dense and full of berries and so fresh, and the crust was so good. And so last year, this was like when inflation was really peaking. We go to the cabin and we go to the market. It's like the Wednesday market or something like that. And so I have my $10 bill that I'm going to go get my pie. I get to Granny's homemade pie stand. Granny marked up her pie by 100%. 100% markup on Granny's pie. So it was $20 for a pie. The exact same that it has been for the last 3 years. No change. The exact same. $20 for a pie. I went, no, thank you, Granny. I will now be making my own pie. So I've now been just like getting frozen pie shells, and it definitely is not as good as Granny's homemade pie. But it does its job. It'll do until I am a master at the crust. And so I do the frozen pie shells, and then I just do like frozen berries and the sugar and the fucking like cornstarch and lemon juice and dash of salt, whatever the heck it is, and you make the pie, put it in the oven, and put it in the fridge, hardens, whatever. And it's very, 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 very tasty. But I'm getting a little bored of the pie, and I want to do more things. So when I was at the library, I also got a cookbook. Not just any kind of cookbook. I got this Nordic desserts cookbook. My family is Dutch and like Mennonite, German, Russian. So our family has some very tasty recipes in the history. I myself do not have those, unfortunately. So I have to do my best to look for recipes that would replicate things that my family that is from those places would make or eat. So I found this Nordic cookbook. There's these cookies that I'm gonna try and make tonight. They're like cinnamon buns, but they're cookies, but they're swirled and they look like cinnamon buns. If cinnamon buns were cookies, and then they're dipped in chocolate along the outside. So it's like the outside rim is all covered in chocolate and then it's a cinnamon bun. But I think my brother had a great idea. He said, you should do Nutella instead. I think that's amazing that you thought of that because that sounds even better. So now we're going to do the cinnamon bun cookies with Nutella on the outside instead of the chocolate. Another recipe that they have in the Nordic cookbook is cinnamon macarons with apple pie filling. You're joking. You're joking. I love pie, like I said. And so I was going to make these. However, I don't have apples at the moment and I don't have almond flour. But those are the only two ingredients that I don't have. However, if you're living in Canada right now, specifically the west coast of Canada, you know we've just got hit with our annual ice storm. So currently there's about 2 feet of snow outside, and tomorrow there's supposed to be rain, which means our roads are going to be ice rinks, which means no one is going anywhere. So I can't get these items to make the cinnamon apple macarons, which is fine. For now, I'll just make the cinnamon cookies. Hopefully the snow goes away so that I can make the macarons. And I know some of you are probably like, oh, you should just get DoorDash. I'm not going to make my DoorDash driver drive in this if I'm not going to drive in this. You know what I mean? It's just like courtesy, common sense. Common sense is not that common. As we're on the topic of food, I know last week I brought up the whole codename situation. The fruit salad with the pineapple and the strawberries and the mangoes and the watermelons and whatever on my Instagram. Also, if you don't follow my Instagram, you should follow it at MKs Corner. I put a little story question and I asked what all of your crush's code names were. Some of you have some very interesting code names. Let me just pull these up. Okay. So, my friend Nicole, shout out my friend Nicole. Her friend's code name, I think she said it was in elementary school, was Bossy Chicken 101 or BC 101 or simply BC. Bossy Chicken 101. I don't know where this would have came from. I don't know how this would have come about. Bossy Chicken. I have no words. From my friend Kai, his code name for his crush is Muscle Mommy. Honestly, I think it's very suitable. I think it's a great code name. I think it's very encouraging, and I give it a 10 out of 10. And then Moira, bless your heart. I love you, Moira. She sent me 3. Hot Dog, Dead Bird, and Shark Boy. No context, but those 3 names. And just with that, I think that's a great way to end this segment of crush code names. This isn't even a real segment. I just thought it would be funny to throw those in here because of what we were talking about last week. And if you haven't watched last week's episode, or I guess listen to it, because I did have technical difficulties and I couldn't get the video to work. So there might or might not be a video for episode 1. If there's not, then you'll just be seeing the episode 2 video. Womp womp. Too bad. Okay. college dance team nationals. Let's talk about it. Minnesota and Ohio. What the fuck? What the fuck? That was literally jaw-dropping. The turning section in Minnesota's jazz. Are you kidding me? If you are not a dancer, I don't think you will ever understand the amount of strength and technicality that goes into turning into a flip. I mean, this is like terminology for people that don't dance. Turning into a no-handed cartwheel, landing on one leg and continuing to turn. You're joking. You're joking. I could never even... I have only done an aerial properly with no hands once in my life. And it was when I was just goofing around and I didn't even really mean to. And I just did it. And then never again did it happen. So that's kind of disappointing. And those turns, like, I'm a hip-hop dancer. Truly. At the core of my soul, I am a hip-hop dancer. My technique, I try really, really hard, but my body just does not allow it, which is really heartbreaking, but also it's fine because I love hip-hop. That turning section is my new Roman Empire. I will never forget the Minnesota Jazz turning section. Also, I just want to say Ohio also was amazing. Ohio State, you were beautiful. The emotion was incredible. However, in my professional opinion, just kidding, not professional opinion, but in my personal opinion, I think Minnesota should have won. And I know, sue me, but it's the college dance team nationals. You need all the technicality. You need all of the musicality. You need all of the, what's the word? You all need to be so in sync and on time. I think that Ohio State made a really big statement with the ties and the jackets. However, when they were whipping their jackets around, I did get a little distracted, not going to lie. I got a little distracted because how are you going to possibly time it so that you're all whipping your jackets at the exact same time so that they're all hitting the exact same angle, you're all holding them the exact same way? It's not going to happen. And visually, to me, in my, like I said, personal opinion, it would have been better if they would have went for more technique and in sync. I'm going to say in syncness, even though I don't think that's a word, but that's just what I want to say. In syncness rather than emotion, which if it was any other dance competition, like if it was Thunderstruck, like if you're a Canadian dancer, you know Thunderstruck, and it was their big jazz group routine, obviously I think Ohio State should have won. But just because of the environment that it is and being the college dance team nationals, personally, I think Minnesota should have won. And I know everyone's like, oh, girl dropped her foot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, but she didn't fall. She dropped her foot, but she didn't fall, and yeah, she got a 0.5 deduction. But overall, I really think that Minnesota should have won. I really do. I'm really sorry. Everyone's like, oh, but I've been thinking about Ohio since I saw it. I forgot about Minnesota since, like, right after blah, blah, blah. Not for me. Not for me, sis. You do you, boo, but that's not my opinion. Anyway, speaking of, also, while I'm on the whole turning rant, Minnesota D1A Palm, the guy's turns, when he went down and then went back up, you're kidding. You're kidding. How do you possibly have the strength in your, what even would that be? Your glutes and your quads to be able to turn and then crouch down while you're turning and then stand back up, continuing to turn. That's a joke. I literally, if I was competing against that team, I would have just walked away right at that second. Because how do you beat that? How is that possible? The strength that that man holds is literally, oh, I can't even, like, no words. He's just incredible. I think, what's his name? Isn't his name like Matthew or something? Right? His name is Matthew something. Shout out Matthew from Minnesota State. Not Minnesota State. Is that what it is? Minnesota State Jazz team? Minnesota Jazz team? Minnesota D1A Palm team? You're great. I love you. Moving on from weekly updates. 2024 ins and outs. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. Let's get into it. 2024 ins and outs. Now, I don't have very many because I don't have very many resolutions. I guess I sat with this list for a week and I was like, this is all that I can come up with. But if this is all I can come up with, I think that it's good enough, and I think that it's better to have a short, sweet list of ins and outs than a super long one, because I feel like that would just be repetitive. So I have 4 ins and 2 outs. My first in for 2024, personal style. And my first out for 2024 is micro trends. So this one kind of goes hand in hand. I am so done with the micro trends, okay? Get some personality, please. Go to the thrift store, get a cool shirt, and figure out how to style it. Stop. Link, oh, link for this, link for that, link for this. Literally, everyone looks the same. We all look the same. My current outfit is from Valley Village. Yes, I found this Puma X Balmain shirt at Valley Village. Is it real? Probably not. But do many other people have it? Probably not. And it's cool. And I like it. And I also got this really cool zip-up hoodie called, or the zip-up hoodie isn't called this, but the brand or the business logo that was on it was for Fat Boys Fireworks. Don't even know what that is. Never heard of it in my life, but I thought it was kind of cool. So I got it. Please stop with the clean girl aesthetic. I'm so over the clean girl aesthetic. I don't want to be hearing anything more about clean girls, latte girls, matcha girls, mocha girls, white hot chocolate girls. Literally shut up. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. Okay? And that's what I have to say about that. Number 2. Second in of 2024. We be standing on business in 2024. That's all I have to say about that. Standing on business. Just keep standing on business. Number 2 out for 2024 is dating. I hate dating. The dating pool sucks. Dating stereotypes suck. Everything about dating sucks. I absolutely hate it. I don't want to do it. If I'm meant to be with someone, I will meet them in some random way, shape, or form. I'm so over forcefully looking to go on dates just to see if I can find someone that I like. It's so exhausting. It takes up so much of my energy. It takes up so much of my mental space, because all I'm thinking about is, oh, now I have to ask this person all about themselves, and I have to make sure that I'm engaging the conversation, and I have to make sure that I'm keeping the conversation going, because I don't want to be dry and I don't want them to not like me. Knowing, though, that I'm probably never going to talk to them again after that date, because people that I go on dates with, I don't actually have interest in. This is the thing that is so fucked up, is that, like, I only go on dates with people that I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Just for the hell of it, just to do it. People that I actually am interested in, I stay away from because I'm scared. And I think that this might be common maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy cuckoo. But personally, I mean, also, I apologize to all of the boys that I've gone out with and then never seen or spoken to again. I love you. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, so let's move on from that. In number 3, we have no more outs. In number 3, keeping quiet. I'm keeping all of my plans, I'm keeping all of my successes quiet until I have celebrated it myself or achieved it myself, and then I will share. I'm so done with sharing things with people and then feeling like they're either supporting me just because they feel like they have to, feeling like they're supporting me because they think that it's going to go really well and they can use me, or pretending that they're interested in what I'm doing and then just completely ignoring it and never asking about it. If you genuinely cared about me, you would genuinely care about the things that I'm doing. So I'm no longer sharing my ideas or plans or anything with anyone because I want to save all of my energy for myself so that I can put it into myself and my projects that I want to work on, so that when I finally get to where I want to be, then I'll have so much energy to be able to celebrate with everyone and I can have a huge celebration. You know what I mean? Number 4, lastly, of my ends of 2024, this was a very short list, is reading. I was speaking about it earlier on in the podcast, but I love reading again. It's so fun. If you have any good reading recommendations, put them in the... Maybe I'll put a poll, or not a poll, I'll put a Q&A maybe, or just message me on Instagram or leave me a voice message. Also, it'll be in the link in the description of this podcast. But I love reading. Every single morning for the past 2 weeks, I want to say, I've been waking up, making a coffee, and sitting in the chair in the living room and reading. And it makes me feel so much better in the mornings. Same thing at night before I go to bed. I'll get some water, maybe make a hot chocolate, I'll get my book, I'll read a couple chapters, and then I'll go to bed. And it's a really nice way to just unwind from the night. And on that topic of reading, I think I can add another thing to my outs. I want to add my phone to my outs of 2024. And that sounds extreme, but I just mean it in a way where I'm not checking it as much. I'm keeping it on Do Not Disturb, and I am only looking at it when I want to. If I don't reply, it's not because I hate you. If I don't reply, it's not because I don't want to talk to you. It's just because I don't want to be on my phone right now. And if it's really, really, really important, then you can text me and say 911, and then I'll go, okay, and I'll call you. But unless it's a real emergency, there really is no need for me to be answering anyone. So I've been putting my phone down, and I got my phone update, like my screen time, 2 days ago? My screen time was down by 5 hours. That's insane. 5 hours a day. I used to be on my phone 9 hours a day average, and then all of a sudden it dropped to, what would that be, 3.5, 4 hours a day, which is amazing. Okay. Last thing. My camera battery says that it's gonna die, and I really hope that it doesn't, because I'm just gonna finish what I wanted to talk about, because I'm almost done. Let me finish. The last thing I want to talk about is my dreams have been so weird, and they're starting to be a little bit, not concerning, but just, they're freaking me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It's almost as if I'm living a double life, and every time that I go to sleep, I start dreaming. But when I'm dreaming, it feels like I'm awake in real life and everything around me is real. But I'm in a place that's like the place that I live in, but not. But I have a job there and I have a car there and I drive around, and it's always the exact same. The layout is the exact same. Everything's the exact same. All of my friends are the exact same. The only difference is that I'm realizing when I'm in the dream, I don't realize that I'm dreaming, but as soon as I wake up, I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I was dreaming. Because for some reason, everyone's pupils are massive in my dreams. That's how I know when I wake up that I was dreaming, because when I look at people, their pupils are huge. But it's like I'm always getting yelled at by other people, and everyone's always mad at me in my dreams, and I try to like calm them down, and I try to calm everyone down, and no one ever hears me or sees me or listens to me, and it's just so weird. And it's not like they're repetitive dreams, they're not the same dreams over and over again, because it's a different thing that happens every single night, but it's the same place and the same people, and it makes me feel like it's a lucid dream, but not a lucid dream because I can't control it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't realize that I'm dreaming while I'm dreaming, but as soon as I wake up, I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I was dreaming. So it's really weird. And if any of you have any insight or know any people that maybe I can bring on and talk to about dreams, that would be really cool. Because I do want to start bringing guests on, even if it's just like over video. I think that would be really cool. I want to start bringing in like psychologists and like mediums and like ghost hunters. Peggy would be amazing to get on here. Peggy the Good Witch, I think that's what she is, or Peggy the White Witch or something like that. She would be so cool to be able to talk to. And also like Brooke Schofield. I just want to be able to talk to Brooke Schofield. So honestly, Brooke, if you ever see this and you want to be a guest on my podcast, let me know, because I would love that so much. My hair today was inspired by you. I'm not even kidding. I was sitting in my mirror and I was like, oh, I feel like Brooke today. Also, Brooke was in my dream last night. Okay, hold up. Hold the phone. My dream last night, I was getting so mad at my mom because I was going with my friends to see Brooke Schofield and Tana live podcast in Seattle, but I live in Canada, so we had to cross the border. Get to the border, oh my god, I forgot my passport. So I called my mom, and she was like, no, I can't bring you your passport at the border. You can just come home, but I can come pick you up from the border. But I'm not going to bring you your passport. I'm only going to come to the border if I'm picking you up to bring you back home, and then your friends can go to the show by themselves. And I was so mad at my mom. I was screaming at her. I was like, Mom, I need to see Brooke. You don't understand. I need to go see Brooke. Like, this is the one opportunity that I'll ever have in my life to go see Brooke. And when I woke up, I was like, oh my god. I thought that I was actually getting mad at my mom for not letting me go see Brooke. And it wasn't real, but now I'm actually kind of sad that it's not real, because I really do want to see Brooke in person, live. That would be so great. And I sound like a crazy fangirl, and I'm not. I literally just want to talk to her because there's so many things that she says, and I'm like, I relate so hard. Like when she said something about, in one of her podcasts, it would have been the last podcast on Cancelled, about how her New Year's resolution is to be in a monogamous relationship, and one where it's like not one-sided polyamorous, you know, where like one person is having a polyamorous relationship and she is having a monogamous relationship but doesn't know that the other person isn't. Does that make sense? Did I even reiterate it properly? Probably not. But I think that's all that I have to say for today. Very exciting. I feel like this podcast went a lot smoother than last week, and they will continue to get smoother. I had a lot more to talk about this time, so that was so great. Thank you all so much for your support. We had so many views, way more than I was expecting on episode 1. So I'm hoping that you all like episode 2 just as much or even more, hopefully more. And with that being said, I will see you all next Friday. Later, skaters!